Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello, and we're so back. Gina's still fixing her bangs. If you're not watching us on YouTube, please tell her she's gorgeous. And we're so back. Rising 360. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, my love. Welcome.
Hello, Susanne.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
It is a bit of a roller coaster at the moment. I am really putting a lot of time into working on my mindset right now. That's lots of old stories, lots of past experiences coming up, demanding that I'm listening, and I refuse. So it takes a little bit more attention on my part. We're going to talk about our roots today and how we can find peace and knowledge, and perhaps also what is going to come next when we're going back to our roots. And before we hit record, we talked a little bit on how this and what this conversation is going to look like. So let's start off with our quote that we found, and that is, "When the root is deep, there is no reason to fear the wind." So what is the root? We know what the root is for a tree or for a plant, that it is super important. The deeper it goes down, the more secure the plant is, or the tree is, right? And it can withstand more external turmoil. So what does the root actually look for us? And do you want to share that example of the baby?
Yeah, well, we were thinking about the layers of confidence that kind of get peeled off the older we get. We sort of unlearn how to love ourselves by living in the world. But when we were discussing beforehand, when you're a baby, you see your reflection in the mirror and you just light up. I mean, we come into this world completely filled with love and self-confidence. So in living life, as those layers get peeled away, it's important to tap back into our true roots, which is, as you said so beautifully, our true essence is love.
Yes, exactly. That was so beautifully described. And I would say that when we're looking at how we're unlearning in those formative years of not loving ourselves, we're taking that with us, regardless on where we are in our journey through life, right? And I believe that looking backwards at that 16-year-old self, and when I look at pictures at her, and I even see it in my own teenagers that I have at home right now, we're so conscious of not doing anything wrong, not to embarrass ourselves, not to stand out, but yet we want to, and going through all of these phases of finding ourselves. I don't think there is ever an end point. Like we're not arriving there in like finding ourselves. We know what our core is, perhaps, but we change as well, right? Like we change from that tiny little diaper wearing baby that loves itself so much, regardless on where it's at in its journey, and regardless to what it can do or can't do. It's just pure love. And we're being fed all of these that is the root. That is the root that we're talking about. That we would love it if you could remember that root. Go back to that inner child. Go back to, even if you're 16 and you're lying in the studio, remember your why. Why are you doing things? Like, why are you in the studio? Why are you doing all of this hard work? Why are you not sleeping? Why are you pushing yourself through not wanting to eat, or all of these sacrifices? I'm calling them sacrifices because yes, they're your choices, but you're also putting that on yourself to, make it maybe a little harder than it really has to be. And I find that easiness and flow is really found when we're going back to our roots and give ourselves permission to unlearn all of the layers that make it so complicated, and really just see it for what it is. Like dancing, there's 7.8 billion dancers in this world. Everybody at some point loves to dance because it's freedom, it's magic. You close your eyes, you feel love, you feel connected. And why are we taking that away when we become professionals? Why does becoming professional mean it's hard, it's demanding, it's triggering, it's something that you will carry along, a heavy bag for the rest of your life? If we remember who we are and what we are, which is pure love for ourselves and everybody else outside of ourselves, I truly believe it wouldn't be so hard.
So very well said. Yeah, I feel something was coming up for me as you were describing that, as you were describing the root of pure love. Roots are also where plants get their nourishment from. And so when your root is deep and you're getting your nourishment from that pure love source, that means you're not looking elsewhere. You're not looking to an external source to receive that. And I think when we forget to nourish our roots, we start searching, we become people pleasers. We search elsewhere for what we're looking for our nourishment. So that idea of the plant being healthy because of the deep roots kind of indicates where their sense of nourishment is really coming from. And it's not an external source.
Oh, I'm going to drop the mic on that one. That was really, really good. I love that. So the deeper not the deeper, I would say the stronger and the healthier and the most remembered, and just like a muscle, right, that we train every day, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. A root also becomes stronger and stronger and stronger the more attention it gets. And I think the more attention you really give yourself and what matters to you the most, what is your core value, what is really, really important to you, the better choices you can make and the stronger you will get. I would even go so far with less training in the studio because you have that really, really strong root system that knows exactly where to go in no matter what kind of storm is going or how much the wind is blowing or how hard the rain or which dog was digging up one of your roots. It doesn't matter because everything else is strong and you can always go back there. Even if you lose perhaps a little bit of your footing, you still know where to go and get anchored again. Yeah. And I think it is so important that you are able to have gained that awareness now, because it will serve you. Gosh, it will pay off 100x later on in your life, 1000%. Like that specific fact, I think would have served me so well. That was one of the reasons why I never really made it, is because I didn't even see myself anymore. My roots were tiny. They were sticking up. It was like a desert. They weren't nourished at all. Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out too that it's not a one-time investment in your roots. You know, it's like it's a pendulum. So some days you will be more in that healthy zone, tapped into your true roots, getting nourishment from your inside source instead of seeking external. But then other days it swings, you know, the other direction. So with this analogy, it's not a one-time investment. It's a continual thing. As you said at the start of our discussion, you're working on your mindset right now. It's something that will always need tending to and care and attention and focus. Um, it's not something that we fix. It's something that we lovingly care for our whole lives.
Mm, yes, 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 yes. And I think that paying attention to it and really seeing it equally as important, if not more so important than the work that you're doing on a daily basis in the studio, I think is something that we need to talk about more and more and more and more. Um, because the emphasis, that's a really hard word. The emphasis in becoming a dancer in the training is really truly on your body, like everything that your body is capable of. And we're cutting it off here because we're saying, you know, your body is lazy or your mind is lazy and you need to work against it. No, this is your entire team. Like you all need to be on the same bus. You all need to work together. You all need to be in alignment in order to get the very best out of yourself. As soon as you're starting to work against yourself, your roots will come unrooted. Is that a
Yeah.
word? Yeah, yeah. I have trouble with the English language today.
Yeah, so maybe it would be a good brainstorm to think of the things that can uproot us. And because the opposite of that is growing deeper, but what are things that uproot dancers?
Well, what are the things that uproot dancers? I'm gonna take myself as an example, like what uprooted me. Had nothing to do with dance, but it had everything to do with me not feeling loved
Hmm.
or feeling loved, um, or feeling enough. Because that's one of our core wounds. Like most of us have that core wound. Like it's trauma, it's however you want to call it, but it's something that we occurred in our youngest childhood that somewhere at some point we felt abandoned or not loved or not enough. And it gets magnetized or magnified when we're in the ballet studio because of the chase for perfection. Our little subconscious mind get told over and over and over again that what you are doing is not enough. And it's perhaps outside of our capability to separate that, particularly when we're little, we're taking everything for like face value, right? And it's not that we're not perfect, but we're thinking we are. And therefore, we're seeking love and validation from the outside. And that's that's our root. And that will uproot us, meaning that every comment, and thank you for letting me talk this through. Every comment that we get in the studio of every peer or teacher that, you know, doesn't even need to be words. It can be even a look or an eye raise or whatever it is. If we're wired that way, if our brain is thinking I am not enough, it will look for everything out there that will show us, that will give our brain credibility and proving us right. And I think that is one of the most uprooting beliefs that we carry, not only as dancers, but as human beings.
For sure. And thank you for sharing your story and your perspective. I'm sure many dancers will resonate with that. And talking about trauma just makes me think, it's worth mentioning that we don't have to do this root work on our own. We've got, even if you don't have access to a coach or a counselor, there's got to be someone in your life that cares about you, that you can lean on for guidance and assistance and help. You're not alone in this work to nourish your roots. And I just encourage you to think about the people in your life that you can really lean on, that understands you and can offer you a fresh perspective and help bring you back to that love essence.
And may I also, sometimes it's not the people that are closest to us
Mm.
because they have, a lot of preconceived notion on how we are and who we are. Sometimes so for me particularly, I found back to myself because I didn't go back to my family, because I looked outside, like completely different pond. There are so many free resources out there. So many. If I just look at your Instagram feed, for example, I mean, there is so much in there. You put out so much content that is, relatable, that will remind you of your worth and of the joy that this job, this passion of yours can actually bring you. And we have bought into the belief that it needs to be hard and moved away from our roots, right? And there's so many other accounts out there that offer that. And
Well,
all you have to do is tune in and let it in and ask the questions. Now, we both understand that that's hard. That is really hard because you need to make that decision. Nobody else is going to do that for you. Nobody else is going to come and tell you, go do it. That's really truly on you. And this is a skill that you already possess, right? Like, look at how we are getting ourselves up at 6 o'clock or 7 or 8 and stretch and I don't know, put our point shoes on already and then show up 2 hours later in class. Like, you already have grit, you're already determined. All you have to do is shift the needle a tiny bit and put that energy, that discipline that you have into a different field. That's all.
I have an analogy that's coming up for me when I heard you describe that. It's like you're looking at your Instagram feed, right? And you're seeing pictures of perfect dancers with their leg up to their ear, and it's getting you deeper and deeper away from your deep roots that you're trying to work on. But you have the choice to curate what shows up in your feed because you determine who you follow. So perhaps unfollowing a few of those dancers who only post the perfect pictures of themselves and choose to follow sources of inspiration that remind you, that help you to nourish your roots. Just using the
Oh, yeah.
Instagram feed as an analogy. You are in charge of what's in your Instagram feed. You are in charge of what's in your internal dialogue.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I don't have anything to add here, so we're going to round this one up. I think we've been taught to give it all, to always be there regardless of how we're feeling, to let everything that could keep us away from becoming successful, to let that fall away, to not let it in, to not let it affect us. But how do we know what serves us and doesn't serve us if we don't have really strong roots, when we actually really truly know why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing, and what does it offer to everybody else out there, and where we want to go later on. Even if you're 16, I understand that will come. You don't have to have a plan. But what we're not asking you to do, but what we're passing on here as the learn is to really understand that whoever you are today is just beautifully enough to take that next step. Like you are so worthy, you're so enough. Stop doubting yourself, stop doubting everybody else, and just lean into that deep, deep rooted love that is really in you, and find that connection back to
Beautiful, Susanne.
love.
I'm gonna take your advice.
I'm channeling Marianne Williamson. Okay, you guys. Sending you so much love. Thank you for showing up. As always, share your biggest takeaway. Tag us in your IG stories. That would mean the world to us. This is how you can actually show us that you're listening and that you perhaps are giving back something to us, because that would really truly mean the world to us. That will show us that you are taking something away, even if you're not agreeing. We want to know that too. So we're sending you so much love. Till next time. Bye, guys.
Take care, dancers.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.